Right. Hi, everyone. We are going to give people a few more minutes or a few more seconds to join before we get started. All right. Let's jump in. So welcome everyone to Office Hours, which is a monthly session dedicated to optimizing your ambition instance and industry IQ. Our panel of experts builds the monthly agenda around trending topics, product best practices, and frequently asked questions from sales leaders like you. So thank you so much for joining. Let's jump into a little housekeeping. So you will be automatically muted given that several people are attending, but please feel free to utilize the chat. We have a question and answer at the end. So we will address your questions then. You will also be sent a recording through email at the end of this. So if you need to jump or if you want to send this to a friend afterwards, you will have access to that. Also, keep an eye out for next month's session, all about how managers use ambition to save valuable time each week and shift their focus to sales coaching. So this month, we are joined by our wonderful customer success manager, Jason McCool, who is going to be walking us through how to excite and engage your sales team with accolades, competitions, and workflows. So thank you so much, Jason, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Yeah, glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
So we'll be going through two goals for today. So first, we want to show you how to keep your team aligned, connected, and excited through accolades, competitions, and workflows. But not only show you how to do it, but give actionable examples that you can implement today. We want to make it easy for you. We want to get you excited. So we're going to be sharing both ideas and also real life examples of how our customers use ambition. So we can jump right in. First up is accolades. So why are accolades important? As a sales leader, especially in a remote world, keeping your team aligned, connected, and motivated can be a challenge. So you need creative ways to keep your reps engaged and tracking towards goals. One of the best ways to encourage performance and celebrate accomplishments is through accolades, which are awards that you give to your team members when they hit the metrics that you or they or combined have defined. So each member of your sales team plays a critical role in helping your organization drive revenue, and accolades affirm their individual value and reinforce the importance of those daily, weekly, or even monthly activities. And then linking awards with key behaviors that drive pipeline growth will inherently motivate your team to keep applying those skills, which results in long-term gains. So whether you're creating accolades for the first time or looking for new ideas, we're going to share some examples that Ambition customers use to keep their people energized and encouraged. So we hope these suggestions inspire fresh ideas for how you can recognize success for everyone on your team. Jason, I will pass it to you.
Awesome. And before we jump into these, I just wanted to call out, and Danielle, love that you started with the why, because that's something that I always encourage and challenge some of my customers to think about as you're going through some of the additional functionality that Ambition has to offer. So as managers, think of why, or maybe in this example, how this tool is going to help you before you deploy anything that you see in Ambition. And then think about it from a rep's perspective. Why is it going to be exciting to them? So I would just encourage everyone on the call to really think about those reasons as you're going through, or where you're identifying different areas for some expanded items to use in Ambition. So was amped to hear Danielle start off with that. So getting into accolades and some of the ways that you can use these within your own instance and roll out to your sales org. The first up, getting back to that why or that how, think of things that you're already doing at your organization. So maybe you have a president's club, or maybe you have a winner's circle, something like that. The immediate value for managers is you would be saving yourself time. So I imagine if you have a president's club or one of those winner circle type groups, that it's pretty manual. You know, you're having to go through a spreadsheet or a Google Doc, check a lot of things in Salesforce to see who's qualifying. So not only give yourself a break from some of that manual lift, but also promote that transparency across your org and across the sales team. And that's what Ambition is going to be able to deliver with the use of accolades. So you have a really cool President's Club or something like that that people are pacing towards. And then once that accolade is attained, it's going to appear in their instance. So first example, love that clubs or groups aspect. But another way some of my customers use accolades, and this is really cool because it gives, regardless of where you're at in your employee journey, it gives you an opportunity to achieve something that's meaningful to you, that's meaningful to your boss if you're a rep, because they see that you're excelling, that you're getting ramped up. Maybe if you're a newer rep, really the point being is take accolades as an opportunity to shout people out for those career milestones. I've seen a variety of these. Again, from that, new to more tenured rep, regardless of where you are. Maybe for the newer folks, have something like their first 100 calls or their first appointment set. That's something that we do with our SDRs here at Ambition. And then maybe for a more tenured rep, you can start working in, like phase 1 in the rep journey or phase 2 in the rep journey, where if you complete a series of KPIs where you're really excelling in 2 or 3 areas, you can set up accolades to where it gives you that nudge when you hit a variety of sales driven metrics within accolades. So maybe a combination of, if you have 20 appointments set in a quarter, plus you have 500 calls, plus you have 3 closed won opportunities, set up an accolade that once you hit those different tiers, that it gives you, that accelerator to whatever the next step might be in your career. And another thing, just to kind of wrap up that career milestones thought track, is maybe have an accolade really as a qualifier for promotion for those more tenured folks, where if you get this accolade in Ambition, well, that unlocks the door, or it, in the career progression mindset, you have to have this accolade before you can even have the conversation with your boss about a certain promotion. And then just wrapping up here, always love the peer-to-peer shout outs. If you recognize that guy in the bottom right, not sure who he is, but he got one of those peer-to-peer accolades. It's actually called the Dependable Dolly. That was one that our team lead, Emma Hamilton, if you bump into her on one of these sessions, created, where really is just a means that, I know these first 2 examples were pretty objective and pretty KPI oriented, but the peer-to-peer shout outs, that gives reps the opportunity to recognize each other for some of those more subjective moments, some of those more between the lines stuff that you might see. In this example, the Dependable Dolly, I helped my friend Mindy, coworker, where she was struggling with something. She just needed, an extra set of hands to help with, I think, a slide deck or something like that. And I jumped in and did a quick QA of it. And then a couple of days later, this Dependable Dolly award showed up. And I was really excited to see it. And we were able to kind of share that moment and talk about it on our next stand up. Then a bonus tip here. So any of these accolades, they're going to show up within the reps dashboard. The reps can pin those like you see here in this picture, to where when you log in, I personally like pinning them because it shows, it shows my superiors, hey, I'm out there hustling. I'm out there, trying to stack up some of these accolades. So pin them to your dashboard. But really the tip here, as a manager, if you would like to give that extra shout out, maybe to a broader external audience, you can actually broadcast these and share them on social. I personally, for work stuff, like LinkedIn the best. So maybe give them a shout out on LinkedIn or something like that, so folks outside of your org can see that, your reps are really doing well. Then the last tip here is, if you guys are using Ambition TVs, take advantage of the accolades slide so you can give some monthly shout outs and make sure everyone's seeing who is getting those accolades out there.
Love this, Jason. The Dolly is my favorite accolade. So that's a great example. All right, let's jump into competitions. So teeing it up again, why are competitions important? Encouraging healthy competition can be an easy way to elevate morale and create a fun working environment. It also gives you a new way to gamify and track your data. So using scorecards and workflows, which is something that we're going to get into next. And also people just perform better when they're having fun, and there are metrics that are holding them accountable. So we can definitely jump into some ideas for competitions next.
And Danielle, that was a great frame up. And I really geek out, if the audience can't tell, on the fun part. And I think that's what competitions really excel with. because it takes the routine and it starts breaking it up, but it also gives us that platform to have fun with it, to have that recognition that accolades does so well, maybe presented in a different format. So running through a couple examples here that are really going to help driving buy-in from your reps. Have a team-based competition. So we're coming up on March. Everyone's thinking about their favorite team already. Everyone's getting caught up on college basketball. Maybe have a March Madness style competition where you pair up, like we were talking about on accolades, with maybe that newer rep with a more tenured rep, and have them break out into teams that can all compete in a March Madness style competition. Then a couple ways to drive buy-in. Have your reps take ownership of even just the small things that are supported with ambition, like the team photos, the team name. We're personally running a competition here within our CS unit in ambition, where we came up with some really goofy team names. We had some really bad Photoshop jobs created to paste faces on caricatures and all kinds of goofy stuff, where that just really amplifies our buy-in to the competition. So, give ownership to some of your reps where they can come up with those team names, where it's, not just like a stock team A versus team B or something like that. And I think you'll be surprised at how excited folks start getting into some of these competitions that you're running. A couple more ideas here. Going back to try to make the routine a little bit more fun. Maybe identify some of those moments during your week where it just seems like there's not the energy. Let's take, for example, it's Thursday, it's getting close to lunchtime. Maybe spin up some of those slower moments into like a weekly dial blitz, where at the end of the day, the end of the week, you as a manager, you're going to be held accountable to the activity that your team's producing, ultimately the results and the revenue that your team is producing. So some of those more routine moments, make those into fun celebrations that your team can all get behind. A couple of things that we do here at Ambition, we run weekly dial blitzes, and then have, focusing on that why, or what's going to get reps excited about this. We've done things like, you see, back to the sports analogy of like I don't know how plugged into college football everyone is, but like that sack chain that you see folks wearing on the sideline when the defense has a big moment or something like that. We even adopted like a traveling chain here at Ambition, where, you get the chain if you won the weekly dial blitz or something like that. Another one that we came up, if you win the dial blitz, or if everyone has collectively as a group above a certain number of dials or above a certain number of appointments set, a Taco Bell Tuesday, where, as goofy as it sounds, everyone gets a Taco Bell gift card or a gift card to have lunch out if maybe you don't want to be going through the Taco Bell drive through maybe a little less often. And then some other ones, maybe if your team blows the expectation out of the water, give them, I know half day PTO, maybe you can't throw that around, but perhaps everyone could log off on Friday a little bit early. And then another thing, just going along with some other formats that we support here at Ambition with those competitions. So those first two examples really dove into the head-to-head style competition, where, it's kind of winner take all. It's rep versus rep or team versus team. There's actually a format that I'd encourage everyone to give a shot. It's called our threshold scoring format within competitions, where rather than every person for themselves, you can set up, all right, collectively, if the group gets, 20 different or 20 appointments set or something like that, you can have a pizza party. You can support that with workflows or, even an accolade, but, try out the threshold format to where rather than everyone competing against each other, individual contributors are all going towards, hey, if you have, 10 appointments set, then you're invited to the pizza party where, at the end of the day on a Thursday or Friday, everyone gets a Grubhub gift card and can order some pizza. Or if everyone's in office, if you're able to hit that threshold, then you're eligible for that particular prize.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Pizza
For
parties
sure.
are my personal favorite also. So you're just hitting all the right examples. All right, workflows. So, why are workflows important? So, like competitions, workflows can elevate a rep's activity. So, for example, if a rep has booked 3 meetings, but then the whole team is cheering them on through Slack or Teams, they might be motivated to keep going, whereas they may have stopped before. And this actually happens in ambition all the time. So, we've heard from several different reps, like, oh, I was feeling good about this number, but then I started seeing people cheering me on, or we were throwing gifts in there and they just kept going and they ended up doubling their meetings booked. So this happens all the time through workflows. They also help to create that culture of winning and recognition for the entire team, which is kind of what I was getting at. It's a way to get everyone involved and not just the sales reps that are actually, putting in that work. They can also help you to learn to identify sales activities that move the mark, which can then help you to map them to business goals and objectives. So after you define success and establish those KPIs, once you've mapped those, you can schedule real-time alerts to Microsoft Teams, Slack, email, Ambition TVs, and align your team and create that culture of celebration. So we are going to jump into examples.
All right, everyone. And this is, I don't know if I have a favorite out of accolades, competitions, or workflows, but we do use workflows a lot here in Ambition, and I am definitely a sucker for setting my gifts. A couple of ways to use workflows and getting into how Ambition uses Ambition with these workflow celebrations and notifications. I'd encourage folks to consider maybe a mid-morning or an early in the day type leaderboard that you can actually automate based off of when you want to give your reps that nudge. So here at Ambition, what we do is based off of our activity scores every single day, regardless of your role. If you're in one of those scorecards in Ambition, there's an 11 o'clock workflow that gives you a heads up. Hey, in comparison with your peers, this is where your activity score is at. So that's that motivation every day. I want to see myself on that big board. So it's that extra nudge, that reminder without my manager or without having to even go into Ambition. Really, it posts in Slack so I can see exactly where I'm at mid-morning. And then we follow that up with a closing out bell, as I've just personally dubbed it, where it shows you how you're doing as the day wraps up. So how that end of day, essentially it gives you an opportunity to win every single day and see where you fall amongst your peers in terms of just those daily hustle metrics, that daily activity. But really, it doesn't have to be that activity score. It can be something like daily dials, where you send out a daily leaderboard in the morning, daily leaderboard in the afternoon. So then as a manager, you're spending way less time running those numbers in Salesforce, giving individual shout outs. And God forbid you have to follow up with someone who, maybe has a 0 or something like that, because they're already seeing it on the big board. They see themselves against their peers. And, us in a sales environment, we hate to see zeros and be last. So a little less micromanaging and a little bit autocorrect when that leaderboard goes out. And then also getting into some of the stuff that you might be seeing here on the right. I feel like workflow notifications are only as good as the gifts that you have set. So in that Teams or Slack environment, just like we see Caleb here, he's a big Eastbound and Down fan, apparently, because this was literally his gift that goes off whenever Caleb sets an outbound meeting. So we got Kenny Powers just making it rain, setting meetings left and right. And really, I think you'd be surprised at how much reps buy in, because it gives folks an opportunity within that work setting, within, mostly hybrid environments that we're seeing these days, gives folks an opportunity where even if I don't know Danielle, who's in Nashville and I'm in Salt Lake, if I love Eastbound and Down, if she likes Eastbound and Down, we're going to kind of have that moment to not only celebrate each other's achievement, but it really drives that common bond when people can kind of laugh together in that digital environment. So when you are rolling out workflows, make sure folks are setting the things like their gifts, their profile pics, and their anthems. So when that workflow goes off, they get the gratification of knowing that everyone's kind of getting the laugh along with them. Then one last example that I want to wrap up with is something that we've deployed here at Ambition over the course of the last 8 or 10 months. That's really done something special for our culture here and our org-wide performance. So we came up with this theory, or this practice almost. Basically, it's called Streak Pot. I'll just get into it. So what it is is it's helped us normalize record-setting performance. And what I mean by that, for the longest time, 3 meetings set in a day, man, that was a great day. So we set up one of these workflows to where when you get your first appointment set, that's good. When you get your second appointment set, you're kind of warming up. Then your third appointment set triggers what we've dubbed the streak pot. And if you look over to the right, just that shout out by our director of SDRs, Chris O'Connor, the concept's pretty simple. You set up a workflow to give notifications of how folks are doing throughout the day. But then when you get that third appointment set, it triggers what's called the streak pot, where then basically Chris, all of the other SDRs, ambition leadership, CSMs, I think Danielle and even some of the marketing crew have thrown in towards the streak pot, where basically you're betting on that person to get their fourth meeting set. And what that's done for ambition is we just saw, the appointment set via the streak pot. Some of those record setting days take off. I think the record setting day for appointment set in the course of us running the streak pot internally, it's gone from 3 or 4 to I think the current record setter has 10 or 11 appointments set in one day. And it's really a winner take all, to where once you get that fourth appointment set, whoever throws in via that streak pot, you get cash. It's winner take all. If you get that third, I don't know if this is a confirmed stat, but I would say 90% of the time folks get that fourth appointment set. So it normalizes some of those above and beyond days, because once the streak pot's been initiated, folks are going to be doing everything they can, because, they're seeing internally where they're getting the shout outs, they're getting the encouragement. And more times than not, you see that SDR for better or worse, they're making sure they're doing everything in their power to realize that streak pot. And then kind of to wrap up with some of the examples here, if you guys are taking advantage of competitions, of some of the leaderboards, just make sure, if you haven't quite automated these yet via workflows, try them out, see what they look like by using some of the slash commands that you'll have available within Ambition, where you can just click / and then we'll make sure to send you out a link that walks through those slash commands. But so long as you're typing / ambition, that's going to unlock the menu of some of those slash commands that you have access to manually push some of the notifications into the channels that you're communicating with folks in. So that was all of the recommendations that we had for today. We'll pause for a second and we'll open the chat to the first question.
Yeah, while we're waiting for questions, just wanted to say, don't forget to keep an eye out for next month's session, all about how sales leaders use ambition to win back valuable time and shift their focus from building agendas every week to being able to really coach their team. The registration link is actually going to be at the bottom of the recap email of this recording, so check it out. Doesn't look like we have any questions quite yet. We'll give it a few more seconds. But otherwise, oh wait, we might have one. All right, Jason, what's a good number of Slack notifications for a team?
That is a good question, and I don't think it has a finite answer. I would say start small and you can always build from there, because the feedback that I do not like to get from customers is that Slack's too busy. I think, honestly, starting with 3 or 4 is a pretty happy median, just based off the examples. If you had like a Slack notification in the morning with that scheduled leaderboard, the closing bell in the afternoon, and then maybe a couple opportunities that are geared around some of those, moment in the sun celebrations, where as a leader, I would encourage you, what are the biggest things that you're trying to drive here at Ambition? Our top drivers and our top KPIs are, closed won opportunities and then appointments set. So maybe just start really high, where, when you want something to be recognized, when you think there's, something that's a really big deal, start with those and then go from there. Because again, last thing you would want is for things to get too busy where folks just, feel like they're drowning in these notifications. So short answer, I'd say start with 3 or 4, see how that gets traction, center them around some of your bigger moments. And then, if you need some suggestions, reach out to your CSM and I'm sure we can get creative from there.
All right. We've got a suggestion, which is great. I also recommend asking the reps if it's too noisy or if we're missing things, which is worth celebrating. Love it. All right. Any other questions before we jump? Cool. Well, thanks everyone so much for joining today. We hope to see you next month. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Y'all.